Steps into it. Pass is caught. Diggs! Sideline!
Touchdown! Unbelievable! Vikings win it!
Strap yourself in and get ready.
Hey, here we go!
The leaders in fantasy football are incoming, giving you the ultimate insight to help you win your leagues and dominate your mates. You're now listening to the Insight NFL Show with your hosts, Guns and Maverick.
Welcome to the NFL. Let's go!
Let's go! Go!
G'day guys, and welcome to another episode of the Insight NFL Show. Sorry about the delay tonight. We've had some technical difficulties. We were meant to start at 7:30 sharp, but we're more closer to the 8 o'clock tonight. But that's okay. We're here. Dfab's in the house. How you going,
mate?
We're looking good.
It'd be better if I didn't get smoked by you in fantasy this week, but I'm doing all right.
Yeah, mate. It's sort of what happens, I suppose. It wasn't even close either. So
it really wasn't. It was a stinker for me, mate. It was one of the worst weeks, but it's all right. We rebuild.
I needed that, mate. I was 0-2 going into the week. It was a big game for me. It said more about me than you. So we come out of that one alive.
As a mate, it was good to see, but it was also the worst.
Yeah. Now, week 3, mate. Week 3, very strange week. Now, we've got the Steelers that are 3-0. We've got the Commanders that are at the top of their division. We've got the Seahawks that are 3-0. We've got the Vikings that are 3-0. And we've got the Panthers that are one game off the top of their division after a horrendous start. And Andy Dalton goes off for 3 touchdowns and 300 yards in his return game as a starter.
Yeah,
Is that not one of the strangest sort of starts to a season that you've seen in recent memory?
Wasn't on my bingo card, man. Really wasn't. We know that the start of the NFL year is always kind of cooked, but this year feels particularly off. It's been really, really weird.
Yeah, so passing touchdowns have been on a decline to start the year.
Way down. Way down.
The offensive lines feel like they're getting worse around the league. And the pass rush seems like it's getting better and better and better.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
100%.
It's getting harder and harder to sort of indicate who's good and who's not. And even for fantasy, like one week you think that this guy's shit house, next week he pops off and returns back to his normal form. It's just don't know what's going to happen week to week now.
Yeah, I think we said it in the last pod that it felt like preseason. You could see that the guys had been skipping that like final dress rehearsal of preseason, and started to see some return to form for a lot of guys that we expect better from, but it's still not where we really want it to be as fans or as fantasy players. It definitely needs to take a step up. He's hoping week 4 is when it happens, mate.
It probably where everyone just has monster weeks. But
I'm praying for it, mate.
Speaking of week 3, mate, should we get into it?
Yeah, let's do it, mate. Let's go.
All right, so the Friday game was the Patriots and the Jets, which was an interesting game. The Jets ended up smoking them, like completely smoking them. It was one-sided for the whole game. But first things first, is Aaron Rodgers back to his true form? Is he starting to get there? Where are we at with Aaron Rodgers?
He's definitely getting better. He looks more and more comfortable the healthier he gets. Had 27 for 35 attempts this last week. Only took 2 sacks, so he's been well protected. He looks a lot more comfortable. He's only going to keep getting better and better.
Yeah, they've got one of the best offensive lines in the game at the moment.
Yeah.
And they've pretty much shorted up with that Tyron Smith pickup as well in the offseason.
Yeah, very tidy.
As you'll see. But I still think Garrett Wilson's usage is a bit strange, concerning. I mean, he was safe by that 2-yard touchdown, I guess we'd call it. But if he didn't score that touchdown, it would have been an average week.
Would have been, but I'm not particularly concerned. He still led the team in targets, had 9 targets. I think it's like a little bit of a chemistry feeling out process. It's part of the reason why Alan Lazard's been so good, because he's played a lot of time with Aaron Rodgers. And we know throughout the years that Aaron Rodgers has been a guy he needs to build that trust before he really starts honing in with how accurate he is and how he tries to fit it in small pockets. I think it's just a teething process. He's going to come good.
I still think
it's good that he's at least getting the targets.
Well, I still think Alan Lazard's been pretty fraudulent in his score lines as well. I mean, it was week 1. I think he had 2 touchdowns, but they're off 3 plays pretty much. So that's just I don't know a bit how you're going for me, but
it's empty points, but it's not completely out of left field.
Yeah, but I tell you what though, this Brees Hall, Braylon Allen duo down there,
mate,
is I mean, for fantasy, it's a bit concerning because Braylon Allen's a beast and you want to get him the ball more and more and more, right? But it was still 52 snaps to 23 in favor of Brees Hall. So he's still probably a top 2, top 3 running back in the league easily. But as a fan of football, you just want to see Braylon Allen get more snaps.
Oh, 100%. He's a man, dude. He is enormous. And I understand that everyone's steered away from him because of the combine, him sitting out and stuff. But dude is an absolute beast. He's a monster truck running through. And it's real. Honestly, that's probably the best part for New York and Aaron Rodgers as well. The fact they can rely so heavily on the run because they've got 2 guys. If either one gets hurt, if they're both healthy, whatever, there's 2 guys that can really anchor their offense and have like a really solid baseline. Force the defense to stay accountable and open things wide open for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, spot on, mate. On the Patriots side of things, it was pretty grim for the most part. They weren't competitive at all. Ramondre Stevenson would have been in pretty much everyone's starting lines, starting teams, should I say, if you had him.
Yeah.
But he gave us pretty much nothing this week, and that was during game script. And I think he had a late injury too, and they just pulled him and just kept him out for pretty much the remainder of the game.
Yep. Yeah, it was just a tough day to beat anyone on the Patriots. Not completely unexpected. But when if you pick Ramondre, he's in your lineup, would have hurt seeing him kind of falter because he had a really tough week.
Demario Douglas, 7 catches for 69 yards. Is he their number 1, you reckon?
I don't think they have a number 1. They got a bunch of 3s, mate. It's gross.
Yeah,
that's gross.
And then you got Hunter Henry. The corpse of Hunter Henry still flies around in there as well. So, do we think Drake May goes and he's a starter next week, or is it Brissett?
I don't know, man. I really don't. They've got San Fran next week. It's a 10.5 point line. If they throw Drake May out there, they're thrown into the wolves. That's not the nicest way to start. They're probably going to keep Brissett out there. But a rough time to be at New England. The only person that really has any relevance other than Ramondre is probably Hunter Henry. He had a bad week, but tight ends are a barren wasteland, so you're happy to take him because he's getting targets. So it's not really much else.
Yeah, pretty much. Let's move on to the next game, mate. This was a interesting game, to say the least, to be honest with you, but it was the Giants and the Browns, where the Giants got a weird win, which I didn't really expect, 21-15. Let's start with the Giants since they won the game. Malik Neighbors, I'm pretty sure he's the wide receiver number 1 at the moment. If he's not number 1, he's the top 3.
Number 2, I think.
Okay, there you go. So he's very close to it.
Wide receiver 1. My bad. Yeah, he's wide receiver 1.
There you go, number 1. So 8 catches for 78 yards and 2 scores.
You called it.
Looks like he does have that connection with Danny Dimes. It was pretty grim in week 1, went off in week 2, and he's just continuing that form now. So he's just a bona fide stud.
He's so good. He's incredible. And the fact that Danny Dimes is just like volume dumping. He's treating Malik Neighbors the way he should have treated Odell Beckham before he bailed. Like, he's had 30 targets over the last 2 weeks, 37 total for the year. He's got the most targets in the NFL. He's got 3 touchdowns. If there's anything happening on the Giants side, it's going through Malik Neighbors. He's a freak of nature. He's very, very good at football. And it seems like anything in his catch radius he's coming down with. He's very good. And
his route running is just so smooth too. Like, he can burn anyone. Doesn't need much time to get open as well. So he needs probably about a best part of about 2.5 seconds, and he's wide open. So the wild part is that
the wild part is that normally with rookie wide receivers, their route running comes later, and it's the guys that have quick bursts and stuff like that succeed in the first year. Seems like he's pretty ready made. The route running looks really crisp. He's clearly been like, he looks like he's been here before. Like, it's really nice to watch.
Yeah. Now, Devin Singletary, he is still sort of fantasy relevant. He put up 18 points, I think it was, or 20 points, something like that this week.
Yeah,
depending on which leagues you're playing. PPR, non-PPR, half PPR, whatever you're playing. Still a respectable scoreline, whatever he scored.
For sure.
But Tyrone Tracy is getting better and better per touch. He was more involved this week. He did have that preseason injury. He's now back. Do we think that he might eat into Devin Singletary's time a little bit, or would we think that it's going to be Singletary's to the moon until he gets injured, really?
Yeah, I'm taking Singletary. He's barring his rookie year, which was pretty low key at Buffalo. He's averaging career best yards per carry. He's getting plenty of opportunities. He's out there for a really high amount of snap. Ride Devin Singletary. He's not matchup proof because, granted, this week he had 4 targets, but he's not particularly outstanding as a receiver, so he's not matchup proof. But if there's a world where the Giants are even close to into a in the game, you start him with a lot of confidence because he's very good and he's pivotal to what they do.
I actually thought the Browns' rush defense as such should be pretty half decent, or their run defense as such.
Well, they should have been, yeah.
Yeah, and he just ran all over him, had a score, 4 yards to carry. That's pretty surprising for me. So,
came out of left field, but he did a really good job. And the fact that Malik Neighbors did so well, even Wan'Dale Robinson was stretching the field, kept the defense accountable and opened up those lanes.
Let's look at the Browns, mate. It looks like it's Deshaun Watson. He was pretty average, to be quite honest with you, against a real average secondary. They're still saying that he might get suspended at some point this year. He still has some clouds over his head, which has a Browns fan. I'm not a Browns fan myself, but if he were, you'd be thinking, shit, this trade's looking worse and worse and worse. But look,
honestly, I hope he does.
Yeah, he's a bit of a pig of a human, isn't he? But look, this week he did get Amari involved. Welcome back, Amari. 7 catches, 86 yards and 2 touchdowns. It was good to see him into the game because this guy is very, very good when he's up and running. Yeah.
It makes me sad a little bit that Amari Cooper is stuck in the purgatory that is the Cleveland Browns. He's still so talented. Yeah, for now. He's so talented. He's so good. And when the ball gets to him, he is one of the best wide receivers in football. I really do believe that. But Deshaun Watson is such an indictment on his ceiling that I think this is a flash in the pan. He's going to do the old Irish goodbye, leave. We won't see him again for another 4 weeks. I don't think great if you started him, but bit of a flash in the pan for Amari, unfortunately. I was reading before Deshaun he took another 8 sacks this last week. So he's got a league high 16 sacks. From memory, I could be wrong here, but pretty confident in saying he's got this is correct. So his EPA per dropback is the worst to start a season of any Cleveland quarterback in the last 24 years. Worse than Hoyer, worse than Mayfield's horrible start, worse than bloody Deshaun Kaiser, all these no names that were horrible. Deshaun has been worse than every single one of them in the last 24 years.
That's crazy when you think about it, right? Because they had some dog shit QBs for years. These guys had wins.
Brandon Whedon, Brady Quinn, blokes that played less than 5 games did better than Deshaun's doing right now. And somehow the Browns have at least weaseled 1 win out. That says how good their defense is. But it's pretty dire over at Cleveland at the moment.
Yeah, and going into this week as well, it was Foreman out-carried Ford last week, right? Or even snapped him as such. And everyone was thinking that going into this week, it was, Foreman might be a good waiver wire pickup. He might see some goal line carries if they get down there. He saw 2 carries for 5 yards, mate, and completely outsnapped by Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford wasn't much better, might I add. He had 10 carries for 37 yards, which is okay, but he did make some money in the passing game, 3 for 33 as well. But overall, pretty crap.
Yeah. Pretty horrible. It's not something that you want. It's probably a stay away from everyone in Cleveland at the moment. Just at least in the backfield, it's a bit of a dog's breakfast trying to work out what's going on.
Yeah, and even when Chubb comes back, who knows what he's going to be like when he comes back in there.
If he comes back this year.
Well, we don't know when he's back. It's just more of a pace, I suppose, with him. But if he does, then I'm not expecting him to really have much of an impact in this team, to be honest.
Wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't come back at all, mate. Yeah. They talked about amputating his leg. It was that bad. So, he just may not come back this year.
Yeah, I'd stay away personally from this whole. Well, unless you want to buy Murray Cooper, but outside of that, I'm not interested in anyone on this Browns team at all.
Yeah, bit of a tire fire, to be honest.
Yeah, pretty much. Let's move on to the next game, mate. Which I actually coming into the week thought it was a really, really good week, really good game, but it didn't turn out to be as such. But Eagles beating the Saints 15-12. I thought this would be a high-scoring affair. I thought we'd be seeing both teams in 20s, maybe 30s, but it was the complete opposite, to be honest with you. Let's start with the Saints, mate. These guys were pretty bad. Derek Carr back to reality, which is surprising because the Eagles secondary is really, really poor. Their pass rush is horrendous, and they stopped them. Shaheed had a donut, mate. He dropped one in the end zone, but that was probably underthrown, if anything. But in saying that, it was good to see Olave return back to form, 6 catches for 86 yards and a touchdown. Welcome back, Chris Olave.
Yeah, he finally got a look in, which is good. Led the team in targets, which is sensational. Olave is definitely back. Good that he seemed to get the directive from Derek Carr. It's a shame it came in a bad Derek Carr game. We want him to have great games and Olave still be the guy in those games. But refreshing. It definitely settles your nerves if you're an Olave owner because he looked really good as well.
Yeah. And in saying that, mate, looking really good. Alvin Kamara still just absolutely balling. Didn't have a score at all, but 26 carries, 87 yards, and on the ground,
40 through the air.
Yeah, 3 for 40 through the air. Yeah, as I said, no score, but still scored really well in fantasy, which is good to see.
Yep. He's the RB2 as a 29, turning 30-year-old. People say that most running backs fall off a cliff, especially smaller dudes. He's 215 pounds. A light breeze can knock him over, but he looks really good. He looks still pretty explosive. You're pretty happy if you're Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, bloody oath. And no competition there either. Like no one up. Like Jamal Williams was the other one, and 1 carry. So, like, if you are an Alvin Kamara fan or owner, should I say? Don't sell him at all. Like there's nothing worthwhile at all to get for him.
He's as close to untouchable in the league as anyone could be at the moment. He looks fantastic. Wait till the wheels fall off. At least at this point, just hold him and be thankful that the fantasy gods decided to bless you with Alvin Kamara.
Yeah. As I said before, Shaheed 5 probably should have had a touchdown. I mean, it was underthrown, but should have had that touchdown. He had 2 hands on the
should
ball.
have.
Yeah.
You get him with the ADOT that Rashid Shaheed has, like his average depth of target. Like it's going to happen. You're going to have these weeks because it's such ambitious throws that go to him, and it's normally burning the secondary over the top. We expected it to be against the really bad Philly secondary. You could see they adjusted and made a point to not let things go over the top. But that's okay. I'm not panicking about Shaheed. He'll still have his games.
He's like the epitome of a boom or bust in the league, isn't he? Case in point in this game, really.
Yeah, he's like late career Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah. And that guy got around too. He got around back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, big time. He really did.
Yeah. On the Eagles side of things, mate. Interesting week, to say the least. Devonta Smith is going to probably miss this week with a concussion. He looked as good as gone when he hit the ground.
He did.
And we'll see if AJ Brown comes back next week. I don't think that's going to be likely.
I don't think he will. Nah,
we'll watch that space as the week goes along. But your man, I know in our local league, Dallas got it, hit the waivers. You dropped him, and he's gone off for 10 for 170. Not even a score, mate. 10 for 170.
Yeah, it was a weird tilt this week, mate. I got too distracted by all the fool's gold on the waiver wire and dropped him thinking that I knew better, and I did not. That one hurt. Knowing that if I had him, I think I would have won our week if I held on to him.
Maybe.
Would have been close. Would have been a lot closer than it was. But Dallas he's a locked in starter, especially for the next couple of weeks. Devonta, I think, with the concussion, will likely miss next week. I don't know if the rules force him out, but they're gonna it's gonna be Dallas Goedert. Yeah, so he'll miss. It'll be him, it'll be Jahan Dodson, and a lot of Saquon Barkley. So if you can get your hands on Dallas Goedert, if he's on your waiver wire, spend up on him because he's going to be the main target for sure.
And speaking of Saquon Barkley, mate, if we were to...
Bro.
Like he's like the number one. If we do like a redraft right now, he'd be like your number one, wouldn't he?
Yeah, dude's freaking. He's putting up CMC numbers, but on the ground, it's not catching out of the backfield. The man is on a tear. Like when he's out there running, he's breaking away from people late. Like he's the stopping power in his runs, like he looks strong, he's hitting bodies hard, coming out better, but the fact that he's still got that breakaway speed, outrageous. He's so fun to watch at the moment.
Yeah, and at the moment, like him and Kamara, I suppose, these two running backs we just spoke about, again, you just can't sell them for anything at the moment. These guys are gold. 17 carries, 147 yards, 8.6 yards per carry is just tremendous numbers. And explosive, as you said. So,
yeah, granted, obviously no one's untouchable. If someone's stupid enough to offer you something too good to refuse, you take it, right? Because there's people that are going to want them so bad. They're going to give you, 2 top 12 wide receivers because they want the running back. Cool. You take that, laugh yourself your way to the bank. But
if you're selling them, you get the whole...
Exactly right. It's going to take a king's ransom to pry one of those guys off your hands.
Yeah. So all in all, mate, pretty disappointing game, to be honest. I thought it was going to be a lot more high scoring than that, but oh well, it's what it is.
They woke up in the fourth quarter. We'll take that.
Yeah.
That's something.
Probably we'll move on to the next game, but this game I did not expect at all to this scoreline to happen. But the Vikings gave the Texans an absolute fucking thumping. Sam Darnold beating CJ Stroud. Like, what the fuck is going on in 2024? It's incredible, isn't it?
The offense blows my mind. Vikings defense is legit, man. They are so good. Their secondary is insanity. Their rush defense is like ferocious. Even their pass rush is solid. Like they are arguably the most well-rounded defense in the NFL, which is part of the reason why Sam Darnold is able to just sit back and relax. He's got a decent line protecting him. He's able to funnel feed the best wide receiver in football. He's got literally a team cater-made for his success, and he's just being a game manager at the moment, and that's making him look good. He's been put in really good positions on the field, getting to throw to a good offense. Aaron Jones has been great on the ground. He had 19 for 102. Like, it's a really good, well-rounded team. They look fantastic.
Well, it was crazy. Like last week, it was more Ty Chandler getting involved, and we're thinking, maybe it's going to be Ty Chandler moving forward, or probably more of him. But it really was the Aaron Jones show last week. And let's be honest, game script helped him. That was a major factor.
For sure.
Because Ty Chandler was not involved in the passing game at all, didn't need to be. But
correct.
Justin Jefferson, seriously, he just needs 2 or 3 seconds to get open, and he's another one. He's a bit like Neighbors, just needs a few seconds, he's open. And you're like, how the fuck did he get open?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. He's so good. And all of us that thought he wasn't worth taking in the first round and let him slip to pick 11, we should be ashamed. He's Justin fucking Jefferson, man. He's the best wide receiver in football. He's showing it with a QB that's been passed around and has been talked about as an absolute scrub, and he's still good. Justin Jefferson's he's a freak of nature, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. He'll never go in the back end of a first round ever again in any fantasy draft. This is case in point of why. But
100%.
Just want to put it out there as well. I know we're not looking into next week at all, but the Vikings do play the Jets next week.
That's gonna be a fun game.
That's going to be the old revenge game for Sam Darnold.
It's going to be. How many revenge games does he have? It's going to be It's going to be
this one in particular, though.
Yeah. That should be a fun game.
Now, on the Texans side of things now.
Yeah.
Now, this wasn't a terrible game for fantasy. I mean, unless you're a CJ Stroud. But, if you had Stephon Diggs, if you had Nico Collins, if you had Tank Dell, it was okay. If you had Cam Akers, that was okay. But lucky he scored that touchdown.
Save with the tutty.
Yeah, but all in all, like we're looking at scores here, and generally speaking, they all scored okay. But again, it was game script, right? They just had to throw for pretty much 3/4.
Yeah, you're probably getting away lucky. There's not really going to be many games throughout the year when you get pumped 34-7 and you're still having, weeks from your guys that aren't losing you that week. Stephon Diggs had a massive game out of the slot. Nico Collins still looked good and explosive. Tank Dell, bit unfortunate. I'm pretty sure he came out injured following that game. So he's a bit sore, and I think he's questionable for next week. But yeah, like CJ Stroud, he looked like he struggled without the run. Like Joe Mixon's going to be pretty vital to this team because we know that Cam Akers is not the running back that Joe Mixon is, and you could tell that without that play action that they struggled, and it's impacted everyone. So it's going to impact their ceilings as long as he's out.
Cam Akers ain't J.K. Dobbins, huh? He can't do the one peg, buddy. The one peg run down the for 40 yards down the center of the field and stuff like that. But
no, he cannot. Yeah, he cannot.
All in all, mate, it was pretty grim for CJ Stroud. But Davis Mills came in and actually just started peppering. I don't know if you saw the end of the game, but he had like 3 or 4 attempts at the end of the game where he was just peppering Nico Collins in the end zone too. So if you're a Nico Collins owner,
take that.
You were hoping that he'd just get on the end of one, but it wasn't to be. But yeah. All in all, I'm not too concerned.
You're still happy. You're still happy with it. Yeah, 4 for 10 for 86 from Nico Collins. If that's his bad week, you're laughing.
Yeah, but even this team as a whole, I'm not too worried about it. It's just one bad week. They've been pretty good to start the year, and you'd think that Joe Mixon's back next week. So
it should be. Yeah.
Let's move on to the next game, mate. It was the Broncos and the Bucks, which is another weird result, where the Broncos ended up getting a win over the Bucks on the road. Now let's start with the Broncos, mate. It was if you're a Javonte Williams owner, which I am in the A League, in our local league, should I say? That is looking pretty grim. But there's not a name named Tyler Batty.
He's a baddie.
Came out 9 carries, 70 yards, and looked really, really good. And he's probably going to get more and more carries as the week goes on.
Yeah, like obviously it's skewed. He had a 43-yard run, so that like half his yards coming off one run skews it quite a lot. So, but even take that out, 8 carries for 47 yards, like he's still done for 37 yards. He's still done particularly well. He looked quite good.
But those breakout like runs that they're not getting that from Javonte at the moment. They're not getting that from Jamal McLaughlin.
I said this to you at the start of the year. Javonte Williams is not it. I know that there was all those rumors that he's getting cut and all that kind of stuff, but everyone's like, "Oh, it's fake news. It's not happening." Blah blah blah. Watch him play. I don't think it was fake. He looks horrible. He looks washed up. I think he's done. Jaleel McLaughlin has. He's looked okay at times throughout the year so far, but he's not a starting caliber running back in the NFL. He's the guy that's there to spell the starter. So it's gonna be interesting to see if Tyler Batty can Batty or Beatty. I don't know.
I'm gonna call him the big Batty.
The big Batty, I like it. But hopefully Sean Payton just gives him the reins because he looked impactful and it definitely helped. Like it was a solid game from him.
So he'll be one to watch when we do our waiver preview. A little bit later on.
Correct.
But we'll keep that for that one. But
on the mate.
Yeah, well, I was going to say in the receiving end, I still don't love anyone on that team. Like I still don't think I'd be confident starting Cortland Sutton or anyone like that. But Bo Nix looked really good in this game, though.
He did. He looked confident. He still looks like it looks like when. I'm trying to figure out the way to say it. It's like, when someone like threatens to throw a ball at you and you like close your eyes and you clench up. He looks like that the second the line breaks down. Like he looks like he gets scared and he tenses up and he closes his eyes. So against anyone that's got a halfway passable pass rush, Bo Nix is going to be horrible and you don't want to start anyone from Denver. But if he's got a pocket, he can break out. Bo Nix is like a solid QB. He just needs to get confident. But him on the ground looked awesome. Those little like peel out of the pocket and run through for those first downs. He looked really nice there. He passed accurately and passed his guys open too, so they could actually get some run after catch.
Yeah, he's just a week to week getting better and better. Again, I still have no confidence starting any of these guys on this team. Including Bo Nix, my lad, if you're in Superflex leagues, I still have no confidence in starting them.
At least right now.
Yeah, but again, every game is getting better and better. So it's just one to watch moving forward. On the Bucks side of things, man, I have to start with this one. This one's probably the most interesting news, probably of the week, if I'm being honest with you. But Bucky Irving out carries and out produces Rashad White.
Yep. Yeah, it makes sense. Like Rashad White was a great volume play last year. He wasn't particularly efficient. He didn't look particularly explosive or dynamic. So if they've got a rookie coming in that's showing even a glimpse of being able to create plays and being a bit of a game breaker, I like that the coaching staff are being a little bit more proactive, putting the rookie in, giving him opportunities, and he's doing something with it. So his role's just going to keep growing. If he's on your waivers, go chase him. He should get a stranglehold on this offense and become the RB1 on Tampa within the next couple of weeks.
The other thing that's probably holding me back on Bucky Irving being that number one is that Rashad White is still very good in the receiving game. Now, not to say Bucky Irving isn't, because Bucky Irving is. He's a 3-0 back. Realistically, if anything was to happen to Rashad White, Bucky Irving would go to the moon. But in saying that, Rashad White is still pretty damn good in the passing game as well. I wouldn't truly rule him out, but I would be seriously concerned that Bucky Irving may steal his role or his job
I think that's it. Yeah.
It could be even next week.
Wouldn't surprise me if it happened next week. It would feel a little early. But if it happened, I wouldn't be particularly shocked. The only thing I worry about is, the next couple of weeks, I've got Philly, at Atlanta, at New Orleans. Do they want to just bring Bucky Irving in slow? He's a relatively small back. We talked about how Kamara's tiny at 215. Bucky Irving's 5'10", 195. He's a very small dude. So he might only be in there as a supplementary guy to spell a bigger body. We just don't know. I doubt he's going to be able to, take a full workload, but I hope they give it to him because he looks good.
Look, keep in mind that Rashad White is carrying that groin injury. I don't know how severe he is. He's probably playing through it, obviously, but 15 carries in week 1, 10 carries in week 2, 6 carries in week 3, and the yards per carry to 1.8, 2.83. He's not doing anything with the volume that he's getting. So
that's kind of been Rashad White's MO though. You look at last year and that hurts. Yeah. But you look at Rashad White on the ground last year. He had a good patch from week 12 onwards. But you look early, it's 2.29, 2.71, 2.62, 3.71, 2.5. He's not, like I said, he's not a particularly dynamic runner. He's just bigger than Bucky Irving is. And I think that's why they've started him, kind of give him the reins and see what he can do. But if Bucky Irving can keep running it at 5+ yards a carry, it only, serves to reason that he's going to get more opportunity. Even just push his snap count to a 50-50 with Rashad White. They're going to see improvements and slowly bring it up more. I'd love to see them go closer to 50-50 this week or next week. I think it makes more sense probably week 5 when they're not going against the Philly rush defense, but he's got a lot of potential. Definitely want to look for.
They've got a really tough schedule between weeks. Well, weeks 4 to weeks 10, man, to their bye. It's a tough schedule. So lots of good run Ds there as well. So
correct.
We'll see how they go in that stretch. Chris Godwin is just continuing to blossom in returning back to the slot. 6 catches for 53 yards and a touchdown. Seems like he scores every week now.
Yeah, and he looks like he's Baker Mayfield's safety blanket. He's looking for him. He looks downfield, looks to Mike, and the second Mike's unavailable, he drops his eyes really quick, goes to Godwin. So him in that slot is a very safe start.
Now, I did say in the show on Thursday to bench Mike Evans, he was getting shadowed by the old Patrick Surtain and was a good call. 2 catches for 17 yards. In a blowout, I suppose, he still couldn't get anything going. So that just proves how good Surtain really is.
Correct.
You can't even say game script to this one because they were down. So, if they were up 26-7, then you can go, fair enough, game script. But they were losing on this occasion. So, it's one of those ones where it's all over the shop with Surtain. I'm avoiding him in every single matchup moving forward because this guy is the true lockdown defender, as everyone knows him to be.
Yeah. Correct. And I'm not particularly worried about Mike Evans. To any Mike Evans owners, I'm not particularly stressed out. The Denver defense, I think they're the second best in the NFL at the moment. They only allow 15.3 points a game through the first 3 weeks. And obviously, Pat Surtain is a nightmare for wide receiver ones. It looks like he really gets up for those matchups against big names as well. So, honestly, you probably, if you've got someone like a Mike Evans or a big name, you might not have the depth to be able to put them on your bench, and you'd feel really dumb if they blow up anyway and they're on your bench. So you probably have to start them, but just to really temper your expectations going against the Broncos, because as a team, they're really good, but Pat Surtain is an absolute wet blanket on defense. He's him for sure.
And they've got the Jets next week too, so another one. I might think about them. Now let's move on to the next game, mate, which was Packers and Titans. This was another revenge game where we saw Malik Willis get the win over his former team, who decided to get rid of him for absolutely nothing for him.
Love to see
it. And he pantsed them, to be honest. He was actually a really good game. Yeah. It was a really good game. He looked confident. He, again, as a game manager, he's been fine. And this probably goes back to the Packers franchise as a whole. They're very professional. They can get the best out of their players.
Great, man. But
outside of Malik Willis's stat line, there was nothing here that I really loved from anyone else. Josh Jacobs was pretty disappointing. It looked like they were sort of resting him. Emmanuel Wilson sort of spotted for him too, sort of at the end of the game, which is fine because Josh Jacobs has got a big season coming. So, you take that loss for 1 week for, long-term gain with Josh Jacobs. That's fine. But again, nothing really much in the air with Malik Willis, with all the receivers. Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Dobbs. There was nothing really there to love, I thought.
Correct.
But we'll go back. We'll go to the Titans. This was probably the most surprising stat lines of the week for me. I thought Tony Pollard this week would eat. He was a massive bust.
He was horrible.
Yeah.
The rushing attack as a whole was really gross.
I still think Will Levis is crap. And still makes
not the only one.
Own-headed decisions. DeAndre Hopkins, welcome back. He was very good. Still didn't see a lot of the field, but he's increasing his snaps per game. But 6 catches for 73 yards and a touchdown. If he's on the waiver wire, would you look at him?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yep.
You can't keep a good man down. He's one of the best wide receivers of the last 15 years. You can't let him, at least while he's still shown, he just showed that he can produce. So there's a lot worse wide receivers being started than him. So if you've got the means to go get Hopkins, go get him. I'm not trading anything for him. I'm not paying up big for him, but if you've got the space to be able to get him, I'd go get him.
Because I can tell you right now, I have seen it in a few leagues, and I was one of them who dropped Hopkins this week in another league. So
did you really?
and rightfully so too. I mean, look,
100%. Yeah,
it was pretty crap. And not seeing a lot of snaps, but Calvin Ridley, mate, he was a massive bust this week. 1 catch for 9 yards. Game script was in his favour and still couldn't really get involved. That's really disappointing.
It is, but it's probably less of an indictment on him and more on Will Levis, that Will Levis is scared to throw down the field. I'm pretty sure that Calvin Ridley's targets as well came when they were close to the red zone. Like when he was inside 20 and that ADOT was much lower, that's when he was having a crack at Calvin Ridley. So it hurts because all the metrics kind of suggested that Calvin Ridley would be really good, especially the way Will Levis started to look at the back end of last year. But he's a different player this year. I don't know what's happened, but he looks a lot worse than he did. And Calvin Ridley's kind of the dude that's wearing the brunt of that regression.
Well, it's a bit disappointing because we had Guns and myself had a show in the preseason. It was breakout players. I actually had Will Levis as a breakout player on my list. I thought this offense has got a lot better. They got Ridley in. Hopkins is still around. Pollard they got in. I thought this offense got better over the offseason. And I thought he would go with them with the addition of all the weapons. And he hasn't to this point. So, look, it's still early. It's still week 3. But the coach seems to hate him.
And that doesn't help. That doesn't help.
And he's losing confidence by the week. But, look, it is still early. Hopefully he can turn it around. But, I'm not confident.
Fingers crossed, man. But, he finished the game with a 15.3 QBR. Will Levis was not good. So fingers crossed. Hopefully he can take a step up because, again, he's got the foundations on that team to be able to do well. It's just he hasn't. So
now let's move on to the next game, mate. This one hurts my soul just talking about this game because we had the Bears at the Colts, right? And the Colts got a win. I don't know how they got a win, but they did. That's probably the biggest mystery for the week for me is how they got a win in this game. And let's start with the Colts, mate. Anthony Richardson.
I've got stock in him, mate. I got a lot.
Yeah, so do I. I've got him in 2 leagues myself. Now I'm going to mention a few plays, right? Now there was one going into the end zone where he threw into triple coverage.
Yeah.
And he threw a pick. That had to have been one of the most boneheaded plays of the season.
Elementary pick, mate.
He had a one-on-one with a defender. And he's good enough to beat him one-on-one. So he could have either gone down and tried to beat him one-on-one or just slid, right? Instead, he threw a disgusting pass. There was a second one where he threw to, actually, it was his first pick, but he threw it to Pittman and just completely missed Pittman. He missed
the defender lace out, middle of the tit.
Yeah, he missed him by 5 yards. And Pittman could have been any open, right? He was in between 2 defenders. It just had to be put over the top. Easy pass for any half-decent QB. Missed him. And turned it over. And then thirdly, this was probably another one that was really boneheaded too, but Adonai Mitchell was on the sideline, wide open. It was probably about 3 or 4 yard pass, give or take.
Yeah.
And he missed him by about 4 yards, went over the top of his head, sat over his head. That's a layup, man. That's a layup for basketball players. That's bread and butter for any half-decent NFL QB. I'm seriously concerned about this guy's passing ability. I mean, in saying that, he went 10 for 20 on 167 yards and no passing touchdowns. Like it's gross, whichever way you put it.
He looks like a rookie. So there's been all this narrative about how he's played like 7 games since high school. Looks like it. He looks so rusty. He looks confused. He looks inexperienced. He looks really inexperienced. Excuse me. I think he's going to come good. He's shown too many glimpses of how good he can be. He's got too strong an arm. I hope he comes good because it didn't look like this in the first 3 games of last year. It didn't look like this even in week 1. He was inaccurate, but he didn't look this inept. But this game against Chicago was.
But it's going to be a slow burn to get there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, it's going to be some more boneheaded plays along the way where you're just going to go, what the fuck was that? You know what I mean?
That being said, it made sense that it happened, though. Chicago's defense is really, really good. So I'm not completely surprised by it. As you know, I stat Anthony Richardson this week because of the matchup with Chicago's defense, but I didn't expect to see what I saw. Funnily enough, he still had a better QBR than Will Levis, so that tells you a lot about Will Levis. But Anthony Richardson has a long way to go. He needs to.
And it's disappointing because I'm about to mention Jonathan Taylor, who had a massive game, 23 carries, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns, huge game. And game. Like the Colts have one of the best O-lines in football at the moment too, and Richardson still can't get it done. So let's hope that he can sort it out, mate, because Michael Pittman's crying out for it. He's too good of a player to be this irrelevant for fantasy.
Yeah. Just for the comedic value for everyone else that's here watching, I made a trade for Michael Pittman at the start of the year and gave up Joe Mixon and Deontay Johnson. So seeing how poor Michael Pittman's doing really hurts my feelings. I see Lukey in the comments at the moment saying AR is a bust. I hope not, but the way it's showing at the moment, he may well be because he's not shown anything good, and you can't trust any of the pass catchers from Indy at the moment. The only person you can start with any semblance of confidence is Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Anyway, that's enough about the Colts, mate. They're
Thank
really
you, mate. I'm going to start crying if we keep talking about it, mate.
They're getting me upset too, mate. I've got a few shares in them too, and I'm feeling the same way as you are at the moment.
Hurts.
But on the other side of the pill, Caleb Williams was either really good in this game or really, really bad.
Mate, he threw 52 times.
Yeah.
52 passes. I don't know what to take out of this game. It was good seeing him throw as much as he did. And again, in our last pod, I said because of the defense, he's going to start feeling comfortable. He's going to have games where he throws 50 times. I didn't think it would happen in a ugly game like this. The fact that he's throwing that high and getting 360 yards is great for the pass catches, but it was a gross game, and he didn't look particularly dynamic, I don't think. He didn't look like a game winner.
I agree. But big games from Adunze, 6 for 112 and a touchdown. Massive for him.
Yep.
It's his true breakout game. Cole Kmet, Big Coco, 10 for 97 and a touchdown. He's back, sort of. And DJ Moore, 8 for 78 as well, no scores. But, for those three players, very good score lines for them. One thing I do want to mention, though, in this game is the crappiness of where Swift is at in his career. Are
you surprised? Because I'm not. He sucks.
Am I surprised? A little bit.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I'm really not. I don't like DeAndre Swift. I didn't like him at Philly either. I don't think he's particularly good. I like Roschon Johnson a lot more. I like Khalil Herbert a lot more. It was good seeing Roschon Johnson go for 8 for 30, and then also catching 4 catches out of the backfield of 5 targets, taking it for 32. Probably enough of a showing to hopefully tilt the scales in the favor of making a change, because I think that might be the unlock for Caleb Williams, having a run game he can actually rely on.
Mate, I couldn't agree more with the Roschon Johnson pick there. He is definitely, he'll be featured in our waiver show later on, but
he will.
He's also one to watch moving forward too, because I do believe this guy needs to be more involved, and Swift probably takes a back seat now. 3 weeks now of pretty much just irrelevancy. So, I agree on that one, mate.
Yeah. Again, just shouting out Lukey very quickly in the comments. Anyone can run for 1,000 yards with that Philly offensive line. Swift is rubbish, mate. I couldn't agree more. I think he should have done so much with Philly. Look at what Saquon's doing. Saquon looks like an absolute world beater, and Swift couldn't get anything behind that. He averaged, I think it was less than 3.5 yards a carry. He's a scrub. So I really hope they make that switch and don't get stubborn because they paid Swift and they were the first person to sign someone and he got paid early.
You better buy it.
It's irrelevant. Win football games. You 1 and 2, win football games.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on to the next one, mate. Chargers at the Steelers. Now, this was a bit of a weird game too, with the Steelers winning 20-10. Let's start with the Chargers, mate. Let's start grim. Let's work our way up on this one. Now, Justin Herbert has re-aggravated his ankle injury. He's probably going to be out this week. He's why play him? They got the bye in week 5. Just rest him this week. Get him back in week 6. No point.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise. I agree. It wouldn't surprise me if he plays though. He's got that. You know how some players have they just insist on playing through injuries. In the past, Herbert's been that guy. He'll hit the injury report. He's very clearly banged up and he plays anyway. Wouldn't surprise me if he forces his way out there. It's just who he is and how he goes about it. But yeah, it sucks to see them hurt. They look really depleted at the moment.
They lost Joe Alt too in this game too. I'm not too sure the severity of his injury, but he's a big loss to this team. And I'm about to mention 2 running backs, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, that'll hurt him or hurt them as well, because he's probably going to be one of the best offensive linemen in the league at some point, and he's already very good at the moment. So, but anyway, J.K. Dobbins, mate, it's his backfield now. Gus Edwards 3 carries. You can pretty much drop Gus Edwards now if you've got him in any leagues. I can't really back him any more than what I've had. He had the volume for the first 2 weeks. Today, this week he didn't. So he's that's what has gone to me, mate.
Yeah, personally, if I had the bench space, I wouldn't drop him. I think he's got that, look at him, just again, alter your expectations. Look at him the same way you'd look at like a Braylon Allen what's his name? I'm having a mental blank. The guy from Atlanta, the backup.
Algier.
Look at him like that. He's just not necessarily a guy you want to start week on week, but if the guy in front of him goes down, he's going to be super relevant. If you can hold Gus, do it. But if you've got other needs, drop him and pick up someone else.
Well, even going into the season, man, I thought Gus Bus, should I say, should have been, was the number 1.
I thought he was too.
And he's just losing work as the weeks go on. So I don't know, mate. I can't really trust J.K. Dobbins. I can't trust J.K. Dobbins to stay healthy either. So that's another part
and that's
to it as
why
well.
I'm holding Gus. That's why I'm holding Gus because I can't trust him to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Passing game pretty gross. Lad McConkey can't play him. Touchdown dependent. Quinton Johnston can't play him. Touchdown dependent. And we didn't say Josh Palmer, so you can't play any of these guys moving forward.
You can't.
I
think you can. Sorry, quickly. I think you can start the old Q stick in a pinch if you have to. It looks like he's the red zone target for Herbert, but other than that, I'm not touching him. It's only if you're in a pinch when bye weeks hit, when Buymageddon hits, all that kind of stuff. Maybe you can start Q stick, but yeah, not right now.
I'm not loving it, to be honest.
Nah.
Anyway,
you're doing it, gritting your teeth.
Yeah. Moving on to the Steelers, mate. Justin Fields continues to get it done, and it's his job to lose now. If Russell Wilson is healthy, which I think he might be, I think they're just hiding that a little bit. But it's Justin Fields for the rest of the season for mine, unless he gets injured. Jalen Warren went down with an injury in this game.
He did.
So that's going to be one to watch. I don't know how long he's out for, but it doesn't sound too good for him. So
Najee Harris, him straight for an MRI.
It doesn't sound good. So Najee Harris is going to be pretty much the, I don't know, every down back. Maybe.
Kind of already is. Like, he's got the third most attempts in the NFL. Like, he's Arthur Smith's guy. Yeah.
That's going to continue. George Pickens, still a little bit disappointing. 5 for 57. It was okay, but I want to see some scores out of him at some point. That's an okay stat line, but not one to get really over the top about.
Yeah, it sucks, but George Pickens is probably just the Drake London of last year, this year. Like the way Arthur Smith calls plays, like he even brought in Cordero Patterson, like he's followed from Atlanta. It's probably going to follow that, like a very similar script from last year. So George Pickens will have games where he's just so good that he gets his minimal opportunities and takes them for touchdowns and stuff. But it's going to be hard to rely on him week on week.
Week on week, it's going to be tough, but you probably keep starting him. He'll have a big blow-up game coming up, probably.
And got to start him.
You just go to the moon.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, let's move on to the next one, mate. It was... Cool. I've got... This is pretty grim, this game. Dolphins at Seahawks, where the Seahawks gave them an absolute toweling. Skylar Thompson went down with an injury.
Skylar.
Was it the ribs? I think it was.
Ribs, yeah.
Yeah. And he was getting chased all day, so that was a shame for him. On the Dolphin side of things, it's grim if you're an owner of anyone at the moment. A-Chain's probably the one that you want to hold if you've got him. Other than that, Tyreek, nothing. Waddle, nothing. Grim.
Yeah, it's Devon A-Chain. I think you can hold. Might be gritting your teeth through it, but there's at least some confidence there. He's now leading the league leading all running backs in targets and catches out of the backfield. He seems to have a lion's share on rushing attempts now. It's not like Jeff Wilson's coming in. Not like, I don't know if Mostert was even healthy for last week, but Devon A-Chan seems to be getting a lot of work, and they're going to have to rely on the run. Even looking back at the last couple of years when Skylar Thompson has played and started, they haven't won, but he's used a lot of bailouts to both the tight ends and the running back. So I think there's at least some safety, especially with receiving work with Devon A-Chan. But as gross as it sounds to say, I'm tempering a lot of expectation on Tyreek Hill. I probably don't even want to start Jalen Waddle. I don't really want to start anyone else.
You probably can't start Waddle. You start Tyreek Hill because he's probably your best player in your roster. But and you hope that he has a long ball where he can get out and somehow can just beat the defender, which is very possible. It's Tyreek Hill. It'd
be good to see some. It'd be good to see some bubble screens or some end arounds or something to try to just get the ball in his hands. He'll create something. But
we're doing another segment at the end of the show. It's the buy low, buy low, sell high. And he will be one there that we'll talk about a bit later on.
We will
in that segment. But
we will.
Let's move on to the Seahawks, mate. Charbonnet just continues to dominate, doesn't he?
Charbonnet looks great. He looked awesome coming in from college, had a pretty average, didn't really do anything last year, even when granted opportunity. And even in the first game, hadn't looked particularly good in his opportunities that he was given. But last week and this week, he's kind of parlayed last week into a really good showing again this week. 2 touchdowns on the ground, 3 catches through the air for minimal yards, but 3 catches is 3 catches, depending on league format. That's an extra, 1.5, 3 points. He looks efficient, looks explosive. He's still a big body. He's very, very safe.
Yep. Now, DK Metcalf, he continues to get it done. He's like one of the most fun players to watch in the league, right? He's just a big physical wide receiver that just can beat anyone, anywhere.
Yeah, the candy man.
Yeah, he does these for fun, doesn't he? But 4 for 104 on a score. Smith and Jigba was a bit of a bust this week, I thought. 3 for 39. I was a bit disappointed with that. Now, game script obviously wasn't in his favour, but in saying that, Dolphins receivers are pretty bad in guarding slot receivers, and I thought Smith and Jigba would absolutely eat this week. I thought he'd be. I had him over 5.5 on my bet, to be honest with you, mate, and he wasn't even close to 3. So,
the concern I have with that is that after week 2, it looked like there was a shift made from Tyler Lockett to JSN, and then it's now reverted back. Tyler Lockett led the team in targets last week with 8. Didn't do much with him, but it's still very clear that Geno Smith trusts him and he's happy to throw him the ball. Which I think it just brings a bit of volatility to JSN. He's still by far the more talented receiver than Tyler Lockett, but is he going to get those opportunities? It might not happen until Tyler Lockett hangs him up. You might have to wait for JSN to really boom. It might be pretty inconsistent between now and then.
Yeah, I agree, mate. And Geno Smith, I mean, I thought at the start of the year, I thought his job was under question. I thought Sam Howell might be in a spot where he takes over at some point, but Geno Smith's been pretty flawless to this point. So, and good on him too. He's still shutting up those doubters like myself. So, well done to him.
Arguably the best game manager in the league. I think he's maybe not the most talented, but he makes it work every week. He's smart, minimal risk. He's a good one to have.
Yep. I mean, he did have 1 touchdown and 2 picks, but whatever. Whatever. We'll forget about that one.
We'll forget about it.
Let's move on to the next game, mate.
Blast like
that. Sorry. Now let's move on to the next game, which was probably I've said a few surprises so far, but this was probably the surprise of the week. It was the Panthers giving the Raiders a absolute smackdown. I mean, the Raiders aren't very good, but the Panthers are worse. And Andy Dalton has come out, shut up every single person that watches football and says, I can still play. I'm going to make Deontay Johnson relevant, and I'm going to make everyone else Chuba Hubbard. I'm going to make him look pretty good on the ground and through the air. But all in all, mate, he absolutely balled out, and I did not think he'd be going off for 303.
So, neither did I. Fun fact about Andy Dalton, he's started 2 games for the Panthers, and he has finished as the QB8 and the QB9. So, when he's in for Carolina, he seems to produce. I don't know what it is, but he looked like prime Andy Dalton. He was smart, made good passes, put the ball in the hands of his best players. Deontay going for 14 targets, 8 catches for 122 and a tutty with a 35-yard catch in there for good measure. Like, that's what you hope to see. It's not something that we thought we would ever get with Bryce Young under center, but for fantasy and even for just Carolina winning, having Andy Dalton there is a breath of fresh air because they look really relevant for fantasy now.
You know who looked very dejected on the sidelines? Bryce Young.
He would too.
That's not what he wanted to see. That's not what you want to see at all.
No.
If his confidence was already at rock bottom at that point, it's now even worse. It's probably in the negatives now. The personnel hasn't changed apart from QB, and it was literally all on the QB. It looks like so. Anyway, is what it is over there at the Panthers. Unfortunately,
too bad. So sad for him, mate.
On the Raiders side of things, mate, we're probably going to see a QB change this week, I reckon, with O'Connell coming in for Minshew. They have been hinting that Antonio Pierce has been hinting it, and I think it's going to happen. I think Minshew's going to get benched and O'Connell's going to come in.
Don't hate it. It's tough because before this week, Gardner Minshew was the most accurate QB in football, and he didn't have a particularly horrible week with the ball. He still went 18 for 28, which isn't great, but it's not horrible. But Aiden O'Connell looked amazing, and Aiden O'Connell finished the year last year really, really well as well. He's got some great chemistry with Devontae Adams, so I'm more than okay with Aiden O'Connell coming in. As long as the passes keep funneling that way, I think that's all that anyone really cares about, to be honest.
Zamir White was a massive bust this week. I thought he'd be a massive play. Probably should have put up, high-end RB2 numbers, I thought, against a really weak defense, but he was anything but that. 10 carries for 34 yards, disgusting. That's probably the end of Zamir White in terms of fantasy relevancy, I'd say, until proven otherwise.
At least right now, they're the second worst rushing defense in the NFL, rushing offense rather in the NFL. They look horrible. You've got to sit your Vegas rushes. It's just not worth it at the moment.
No, we saw the breakout Trey Tucker game. Can't believe it. Seven catches, 96 yards and a touchdown.
Wow. Yeah,
he probably won't be on my waiver list at the end of the show.
Probably not.
That was just more of a, hey, there's a flash in the pan sort of thing. So
we get those every week.
Other than that, mate, Devontae Adams is a bit of a bust this week. Same as Brock Bowers, which was pretty surprising. I thought Brock Bowers was pretty safe, but turns out he's not. But
again, I think Brock Bowers, I'm not particularly disappointed in. If that's your floor week, getting 5.5 as a tight end, you take it. That's the ceiling week for a lot of the tight ends that people are having to start. So it's definitely not what you have come to expect or what you come to hope from Brock Bowers, but I'm not upset. Same with Devontae Adams. He still had 9 targets. It was a tough game. QB change halfway through the game. It is what it is.
Tight ends are people too, mate.
Are
Somehow.
They?
Somehow.
Barely.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd give them that distinction.
Let's move on to the next one, mate, before this thing's get out of hand. Another surprising result where the Rams beat the Niners. This was a really fun game to watch, to be honest.
It was.
Now, I'm going to mention 2 names. I'm going to combine the 2 teams in this one together. But I'm going to say Juwan Jennings for 3 touchdowns and Kyron Williams for 3 touchdowns. Now, one was not expected. The other one, I guess they both probably weren't expected, to be honest. I thought the Rams would be pretty crap coming into this game against a pretty decent defense, to be honest. Some solid defenders on that team. And, they had no O-line. They had no receivers. And Kyron Williams just jammed it down their throat, really.
Yeah, it wasn't particularly dynamic or explosive, but it was almost like a war of attrition that, he just kept grinding and just kept hitting the wall and kept just edging out extra yards and, 24 for 89 yards. Not particularly impressive, but the 2 touchdowns is mighty nice. And then another 2 catches for 27 yards, another touchdown. You're laughing your way to the bank if you can pull down 3 tutties.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of 3 tutties, mate, Juwan Jennings had pretty much his breakout game, which some of his touchdowns he caught were actually really nice, to be honest.
He looked really good.
Yeah, that third one he ran through the tunnel, he was just wide open on that one. But Brock Purdy played really well. The old Birdie. Purdy played really well, man, I thought.
He does. He's good.
Ayuk is still a massive bust to this point of the season. His holdout hasn't worked for him at all, apart from getting paid. But then again, I don't know, he didn't really gain anything for the holdout by the end of it.
Legit. He looks very underdone. Anything. He looks like he's skipped a preseason.
I actually thought this would be the game where he'd come back to normality, but nope, not yet.
Yeah, it might still be a couple of weeks off for San Fran, for Ayuk at San Fran. I think he's going to get his sea legs under him. I said it last week or the week before, whenever we had our last pod. He's got to get his sea legs under him. He just needs to get his reps back. He's still one of the best wide receivers in the NFL when he's on his own without Debo. He's going to end up coming good, but it might just take a little longer than we'd really like it to take.
Yeah, I just thought, no Kittle, no Debo, no CMC. Yeah. I just thought this would be the week for Ayuk, and that just wasn't the case.
Just wasn't.
Jordan Mason was okay, 19 for 77. Still pretty good. Safe play every week still.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to the next game, mate. Lions at Cardinals, where the Lions snuck over the line.
They got lucky, man. They got lucky.
And let's start with the Cardinals, mate. Marvin Harrison Jr. is still balling out to this point. He still looks really good.
He does.
Michael Wilson was really, really good in this game, I thought.
My boy, love him.
Underrated. Underrated, Michael Wilson.
Yeah, he's very good.
But probably the biggest news coming out of this game was Trey McBride went down with a concussion. Probably going to miss next week. So keep your eye on that one if you're a McBride owner. And they had nothing in the run game at all in this one, I thought.
Nothing. James Conner looked average. It could argue that it was mostly game script. So it was Lions had 20 by the end of the first half, and I'm pretty sure Arizona snuck in a field goal right at the dying moments of the first half. So they kind of had to, alter their game plan a little bit going in, down 10 into the second half. But James Conner, you kind of wanted to see a little bit more from him on the ground. It just wasn't really there.
Pretty much. Well put. On the Lions side of things, mate. Now, the running back scenario at the Lions, it's so interesting. I mean, Montgomery's there. Gibbs is there.
Yeah.
Monty had 23 carries. Gibbs had 16. That's game script's probably in their favour for this one. But in saying that, they're both very, very good. They're both putting up some tremendous numbers. The lateral was amazing to Gibbs. That was really fun to watch. But, I mean, one to watch moving forward is what do you do with Gibbs? Obviously, you keep starting him, but you're still worried that Monty's still around.
For sure. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, and maybe a little bit of I don't think it's a deep cut, but the Bengals running back room when it was Gio Bernard and I think it was Jeremy Hill was like the big bruiser. It was, Jeremy Hill got way more work than anyone was really comfortable with because Gio Bernard looked like he was so much more dynamic. He was great out of the backfield, but Jeremy Hill was still someone you could start with confidence every week, and he'd have games where he pinched everything off Gio Bernard. Kind of feels like that. I think they're both like realistically startable every week. I'm more than happy to have either of them on my roster. And if you think, especially with Gibbs, if you think that the owner is maybe wavering a little bit after that, go chase him.
I was going to say, would you sell him?
I wouldn't, no. Not when you can have a bloke that has 0 receptions for 20 yards and a touchdown. He's getting points out of nowhere. Yeah, legit. I'm not selling him. He's maybe a little bit less than you hope for, but he's still very, very good.
I was hoping coming into the year that he would be getting more carries than Monty. I thought Monty would still be around, but I thought the carries would be more into Gibbs's favour, to be honest.
Very early to say, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're maybe saving Jameer a little bit, just trying to keep him healthy. It wouldn't surprise me as they get closer to the business end of the year if his rushes go up because he is the more dynamic playmaker.
Funny you say that. That happened last year.
And that's exactly why I say it. They've kind of shown, Dan Campbell's shown that's how he goes about it. So,
Amon-Ra St. Brown still a boss, 7 for 75 and a tutty. Sam Laporta went down with an ankle injury. Probably will miss this week, you'd imagine. It's a low ankle, they're saying. So, maybe a week or two he'll be out for, but keep your eyes on that one. Other than that, mate, Jameson Williams is a bit of a bust this week.
I'm not fussed.
Just this week.
It's kind of, just this week. Kind of in the same lane as Raheed Shaheed. Same feedback. He's going to have weeks like this because he's the speed guy that takes the top off very quickly. I don't think I've got it in the block for later, but if you're the Laporta owner, go get Brock Wright. I think you can probably just plug and play him, temper your expectations, but I think he's just going to keep running the same routes. Think of it as a wish Laporta and hope to get 5-6 out of him.
You're probably hoping that he might get a touchdown out of him in a good offense.
That'd be elite if he did.
Yeah. Let's move on, mate. Ravens are Cowboys.
Your boys.
This was pretty grim, to be honest with you. But, Ravens end up winning 28-25. Dak loves these sort of games where they're down big early and he can just, pay stats a little bit and make them respectable, make the game look respectable and go, that wasn't all my fault. That was the defensive fault. I sort of agree to an extent. But at the same time, you were going pretty shit at the start of the game and couldn't score yourself. So, anyway, it is what it is, mate. Derrick Henry went pretty large.
He did.
Now, the Cowboys' run defense is like horrendous at the moment.
Horrific.
Anyone can jam in down their throat at the moment. So, but still, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson duo is something special to watch.
Yeah, 39 rushing attempts between those two. It sucks because if you're holding any pass catches, that immediately takes away any of their value.
Yeah.
Like the most you would like 4 targets to Zay Flowers, 4 targets to Rashad Bateman.
I'm not worried
Nothing
about Zay
for-
Flowers.
I'm not worried about him, but it's just
This is
being
game
realistic. There's gonna be matchups where it just doesn't happen because there's so much rushing. So
And
tough
if
game
we're
for fantasy, but
if we're talking game script as well, you want to make sure that Zay Flowers is scoring early to benefit from this. Otherwise, it's just going to be the Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson show from there on. Mandrews with a big 0. That's pretty disappointing. Hang on, just drop your headphones so you keep going. Mandrews big 0.
Right, mate. Yeah, it's not ideal. I kind of thought that last week was him like getting himself back on board. It's somewhat comforting knowing that Likely did nothing as well. But keep an eye out on waivers tomorrow. Wouldn't surprise me if either of those two found their way to waivers. And if they do, I'm picking them up immediately because they're still solid. And again, hate to say it again, tight ends are a barren wasteland. There's nothing good. There may be 2 or 3 players you can start with confidence. So it's not ideal. It's going to happen with tight ends. Just take your medicine, and it is what it is.
I'm going to quickly mention the Cowboys, but Jake Ferguson, welcome back. Massive game for him, 6 for 95.
Very nice.
CeeDee Lamb was pretty bad, to be honest with you. Had that drop, which he fumbled in the end zone or close to the end zone.
Was it a fumble?
Yeah. So that one hurt. He probably could have ran that one in for a touchdown if he was careful with the ball.
Yep.
But all in all, pretty grim for the Cowboys end. Nothing in the run game at all. And Dak, if you had him in Superflex leagues or 1 QB leagues, he went pretty big.
Yeah, something I do love about Dak, it could be my favorite start of the weekend. So Dak Prescott is leading the league in passing yards over the last 2 weeks, but has a QBR of under 82.
Yeah.
So he's getting all these yards, but he's playing like shit. So
and it's because it's junk time, mate. It really is. And this is why I think Dak's such a massive fantasy weapon, because this is what he does. He just loves coming back and padding these stats and making them look respectable.
Doesn't matter how he gets them, as long as we're getting the stats, that's all we care about. So start him with confidence, because he's either going to have a good game, Cowboys look good and he's going to perform well, or they're going to be shit house and he's going to perform in junk time. So you can start him with confidence pretty much every week.
Pretty much. Next game, mate, which was the Monday night football game. Saturday night football game, sorry, should I say? With the Chiefs beating the Falcons 22-17. Hopefully we don't have Marcus here in the chat. Otherwise, he will go on a tangent about these about his Chiefs. Not his Chiefs, but he can't stand them. He's big on them.
I don't think it's the Chiefs necessarily, but just the umpires while they're playing. I think they're the ones that are really the target of his rage. And fair enough too. There's some. It's that bear hug in the end zone. Bear hug in the end zone. There was a very clear face mask on Ray McLeod. There was some pretty egregious penalties that weren't called. So
it just happens.
Not nice.
Yeah. Now on the Chiefs side, we'll start with them. Rashee Rice is pretty much like a bona fide wide receiver 1 in the league now.
He's top 12 in the league, I think. Yeah,
you can start him with confidence now. 12 catches, 110 yards and a tutty. That's massive game. Kelsey's looking a bit washed, to be honest with you. They still think they're play calling for him, but I don't think they are. I think he's slowing down tremendously. His body's getting a bit older now. He's always said the injuries are starting to catch up to him too, and he hates recovering. And that's one to monitor.
Honestly, mate, it wouldn't surprise me if he retired at the end of the year. Like just watching.
I thought that last year.
Like knowing that. Like you watch all the Super Bowl coverage when it was the Chiefs and the Eagles, and all this discussion about how he started playing football because his brother did. And, he was always comparing himself to his brother. Now that Jason Kelsey's gone, it wouldn't surprise me if he's just kind of lost that fire and he's just not really that fussed on what he's doing. He just doesn't really want to be there anymore. The game's kind of lost its luster a little bit, and he's kind of out. So if he retires even mid-season, it wouldn't completely surprise me. It's more, I think, end of the year is probably the most likely. But if that would surprise me. I'd hate to see it.
Super Bowl hunt.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It'd surprise. He should hang around to try to get the 3-peat. You're right. He's not gonna go mid-season. But if he gets hurt or if it gets towards the end of the year, they bow out early, I don't think he comes back next year. I think he's kind of tapped out a little bit.
Oh, I don't disagree with that at all. I think that's pretty much spot on, apart from the mid-season. I've said this in another pod, or previous pods. Xavier Worthy's a real boomer bust, mate. 2 catches for 17 yards. Even his week 1 stat line, we went for 2 tutties. He had like 4 targets for the game. So, as I said, he hasn't had those 2 touchdowns. That's a 4. And he's doing that the last couple of weeks. So, I wouldn't be starting him at all until he starts performing. Carson Steele, I thought was really good. He was getting pretty much first down looks, and he did beat out Piran for the goal line. It was 2-1, but did beat him out. But he can probably start him with confidence. I think I thought he was good enough on the ground.
I heard someone said to me in a group chat I'm in that Carson Steele looks like the old man that's falling over, and he's constantly trying to run himself back on balance. He's so funny to watch because he looks like he's always falling down, but he doesn't go down. He doesn't go down, and him and his pet Gator just keep fighting for extra yards, and he actually looks like he's worth, if people paid up for him, paid 50, 60 out of their fab.
It's starting next week.
Worthwhile. Oh, 100%. Honestly, I'm surprised you didn't start him this week. But he's
too stacked.
Too stacked. Let's not get on this here.
Look, I probably will start him next week, mate.
And like he wasn't. Nothing was particularly explosive. His long was 9 all day, so he was happy to grind. Got heaps of opportunities. They clearly were happy to trust him with doing it, and that's a win. So
I agree.
Happy to start him.
On the Falcons side of things, mate, Drake London is starting to put some games together now. He's starting to get going, 6 for 67, a touchdown. Good to see. This guy's an extreme talent, so it's good to see him get going.
He is.
Darnell Mooney, mate, he's getting involved in the passing game. He's actually not a bad wide receiver. He's been, in his Bears days, he was number 1 there and was very underrated, I thought. And he's starting to get going now in a better offense. Well, we think it's a better offense anyway.
I could be wrong, but I think Darnell Mooney was a day 1 pick in the draft. Like he's very talented, and his pedigree suggests that he should be really good. It's awesome to see that Kirk Cousins trusts him so early. And I'll tell you what, I got bit in the butt bad. It hit that end of that first drive. I was like, primetime Kirk hasn't showed up today. Like he's actually going to play all right. And then he scored 7 for the rest of the game and looked pretty lackluster. But he trusts Darnell Mooney. He's someone that you can start every week. He's working out of the slot for the most part. Dips outside sometimes. He's getting targets. He catches it when he gets near him. He's pretty decent.
I agree. Kirk Cousins can get better week to week as well. He just needs more reps.
Yeah.
So
he's still coming back from the Achilles, right?
Yeah, I think like by week 7, week 8, week 9, we'll see. Kirk Cousins actually be half decent again. So
agreed, man.
Bijan, pretty disappointing. Had that 1 yard touchdown from that Pitts 50-yard catch, but 16 for 31. I know. But 16 for 31, 1.9 yards per carry, pretty grim. But in saying that, he's still locked to start every week. And someone will mention at the end of the show for the last segment of the buy low, sell high.
You're really struggling with that name, aren't you?
I am. I'm just trying to think of buying. Who am I going to buy? Let's move on to today's games, mate. There were one was just a real struggle to watch, and the other one was really good to watch, I thought. But we'll start with the struggle. Jags and Bills, where Jags got absolutely pounced 47-10. And let's start on the Jags, mate. I'm starting to get really nervous about Trevor Lawrence. I'm out on him. Really. Yeah, he looked really bad. He had one play, I don't know if you saw, it was trending over social media. It was the play where he did this spin move, but there was no defender around him.
I haven't seen that.
I'll look at you after the show, mate. It's a pisser. He does his little spin move. No one's around and then gets sacked. It was weird.
That's elite.
He just sold all the time that he had and just got sacked again. But mate, I'm seriously concerned about Trevor Lawrence. I'm a little bit concerned about Travis Etienne, to be honest. If the offense isn't moving, Travis Etienne won't get moving either.
Agreed.
And Christian Kirk sort of came back to himself, but also gained script as well. So that's probably a flash in the pan for the short term. But other than that, pretty grim. All in for the Jags.
Yeah. Offense as a whole looks pretty anemic. A lot of it's on Trevor Lawrence. A lot of it's on the play call. They don't look particularly dynamic. It looks like it's relatively predictable, and their defense is forcing them into holes real early, which kind of pigeonholes them into having to throw.
Yeah.
The defense looks shit house. So, 0-3 hole wouldn't surprise me if the Jags are, well and truly below 500 this year. When people had a lot of expectation on them, they don't look good. There's it's a bit of a worry, unfortunately.
Yeah, and on the Bill side of things, mate, I think they scored on every single drive. If they didn't, it would have been one punt maybe. But
they only had 3 points in the third quarter, but it was close. Like, they were on fire.
Yeah, and like James Cook, 11 for 39 and a touchdown, wasn't needed in the second half at all. It was game over at halftime, so they pretty much put him on ice, which was good to see because he's got a massive workload from now to the end of the year. Josh Allen just throwing dimes to every single player on that team. It was like that.
He's so good.
You have a touchdown. You have a touchdown. You have a touchdown.
He's so good. I got to take my medicine on this one. I really thought so. I had the number 1 pick in a dynasty draft, and I went Mahomes over Josh Allen because I thought there's no one to throw to. His best bet is Curtis Samuel, who's average at best. Like, it's not going to be there for him. And the man's showing he's almost like Brady-esque, where it doesn't matter who he's got to throw to. He's gonna find the open man. He's gonna throw them open, and they're gonna score. He's so good.
Yeah. No, he was amazing, mate. Kincaid sort of bounced back as well, which is good to see. But all in all, mate, it's a shredder. It is a shed around the whole receiving court there. So that was good. And let's go to the last game of the week, mate, which was also today. Bengals and Commanders. This was a fun game. Yeah. Now, welcome back, Jamar Chase. Welcome to the league. Welcome to 2024. He had a big game. And it was due too. So good to see him bounce back. Zach Moss pretty good too. Chase Brown pretty good. I thought that the running game was actually really solid. They both
it was.
They were both just carving out 4 or 5 yards a carry pretty much. And T Higgins was pretty disappointing if you started him. Bounce back, return game, but again, he'll take a while to get going.
Yeah, just again, I talk about sea legs a bit. He's just got to get his sea legs under him. Just get back into the swing of things. Learn that he can trust his body to do what he wants it to do. There's only so much you can do in practice. Anyone who's played at any level of sport, even if it's like Div 5 domestic, that after you get hurt, it takes a couple of games just to learn to trust your body again and get that thought out of your head so you can just play and off instinct. That's going to be even more important at a high level like the NFL. So he'll come good. Give it a few weeks. Just temper your expectations. Sit him if you can. Wait for the signs to start showing before you put him in.
It's good that if you're a Jamar Chase owner, it's good that T Higgins is playing because that's just another option on the field and a dangerous option.
And that's part of why Jamar Chase had a great game, because between that and the running game playing well, it opened things up for him. They weren't able to just double team him and really close the field off.
Yeah. And now on the Commander side of things, mate, Jaden Daniels is looking like he is him. He's looking legitimate. Now, his passing was really good today. His rushing was really good today. He passed it to an offensive lineman for his first career touchdown, which I thought was weird. And then backed it up with his scary Terry long ball. So that was good to see as well. But Austin Eckler's got in there with a concussion, probably out next week. Brian Robinson is going to eat.
Yes, he is.
And probably will anyway. But
he already is. I think he's top 3 in the league at the moment. I was looking at it before. He's top 3 in the league for yards after contact. So he's doing a really good job when he gets his opportunity, he gets hit after the line and still goes. I nearly call them the Redskins. The Commanders are running at the 6th highest clip as well. So not only is Brian Robinson doing well when he gets the ball and he's fighting for extra yards, they're putting the ball in his hands more than 26 other teams in the league. So he's a good one to have.
I'm just going to burst your bubble a little bit for that one, but he was on 2 yards per carry today. So
that's all right though. It's when you've got volume, it doesn't matter. He's got volume. He's okay. He's all right.
Fine. Don't stress. That'll pretty much do us with the recap, mate. Let's head to the waiver wire. Now, there wasn't many waivers that I had. I'll go through mine. You can go through yours. If you want to do it like that. But there wasn't many waivers that I really like going into this week. But my biggest option if he's on your roster or on the waivers is Bucky Irving. I would be going hard at Bucky Irving. I don't imagine he would be, but if he is, Bucky Irving's probably the one. And same with Juwan Jennings. To be fair, I'd probably go pretty hard at him for the next couple of weeks because he'd be an integral part of that offense. Dana, we spoke about before. I would go. I'd spend a few dollars on Dana Mooney, probably between the $5 to $10 mark. Roshan Johnson, I would have a look at. He'll only cost you
for sure
$1 to $5. It won't cost you much at all. His role is increasing. Cole Kmet, I've got as a question mark. We're not too sure, but if you're desperate at tight end, he could be worth a play. Nice little safety bucket there for a rookie QB. So Cole Kmet was top 10 last year. So, I think he would be worth a few dollars if you're desperate. In deeper leagues, I've got Tolbert there from the Dallas Cowboys. He's been getting volume the last couple of weeks. He's looking like he's the number 2. So in deeper leagues, he's worth something. And then the old baddie. Baddie's worth a few dollars.
Tyler Baddie.
He's worth a couple of dollars too, I reckon. Won't cost you much to get him, and his role looks like it's increasing.
It's 100%. Again, temper your expectations on a lot of these guys if you are looking on the waiver wire, because more than likely the guys on your list are going to be just as good, if not better. You're kind of looking at the waiver wire in a pinch, or if you're streaming positions this week, there's nothing too much. If you're on the sleeper platform, look at the trending list. Find out if you've got Juwan Jennings or Darnell Mooney and all that kind of stuff if they're around, because they're good guys to have up. The only ones I had separate from your list, mate, Tyler Conklin from the Jets. It's only one good game, but he's building chemistry with A-Rod. Aaron Rodgers has a history of leaning on tight ends as well, so just one to watch if you're streaming him. I don't hate him this week. Could be an okay option, especially going against the Broncos, knowing that Garrett Wilson's probably going to be blanketed by Pat Surtain. Cordell Patterson from the Steelers is worth a look. Najee left the game in a sling. He still played the game out. He should be okay. But Jalen Warren going for his MRI could be out for a few weeks. Cordell Patterson's next man up. Arthur Smith trusts him. Have a look at him.
Cost a couple
a couple of bucks on Cordell. I'm happy to spend, no more than $5, but happy to spend on him. And this one feels so gross to say, but Andy fucking Dalton. He looked great, played great. Like I said, he's been QB8, QB9 in his 2 games for Carolina. If you're streaming QBs, I love him this week. He's got Cincy this week, which should be fun. They haven't really been good defensively. Chicago next week, which hurts, but then Atlanta and Washington, he should be good for the next month. So Andy Dalton.
But we're looking for a start this week.
Correct.
Correct.
So Andy Dalton could be good for the next month. So if you look forward, but Andy Dalton's a great pickup, I think.
Cool. Let's go to our final segment now. I've been butchering this all night, but let's see if we can get this one right. It's the buy low, sell high, mate.
There we go. Well done, mate.
High. Thank you. Let's go. Have you got a list for us for your sells?
Yeah, mate, I do. I've got 2 guys. So first one is Amari Cooper. I kind of alluded to it a little bit in the Cleveland rundown, but he's dependent on arguably the most dysfunctional QB in the last couple of decades in Deshaun Watson. He's not an NFL caliber QB. Take the stuff off field out of it. He shouldn't be an NFL caliber. He's not an NFL caliber QB. The only reason he's there is because the Browns are hamstrung by his contract. Like I said before, his EPA per dropback is the worst to start a season of any Cleveland QB in the last 24 years. He sucks, and the fact that Amari Cooper relies on him to, earn his money is horrific. So off the big week, if I can sell Amari Cooper for anyone, I'd do it. I'd be aiming for guys like Deontay Johnson if I could get him. That is a great deal in my eyes. And I think you can have that conversation pretty comfortably.
All right. Who's your next sell?
Other one feels really gross to say, especially since he's currently the running back 4. But Kyron Williams. He's one of the league's least efficient runners at the moment. He only averages 3 yards a carry. The stat that really hurts and his biggest negative is that 55% of his total points has come from his 5 touchdowns. So he's got volume, which is a selling point. He's the RB4, which is a selling point. But he's inefficient with the ball, and he's got Chicago, Green Bay, and a bye in the next 5 weeks. I said this to you before the pod. I think he's out of the top 24 when week 7 starts. I don't think that doesn't feel like a hot take to me. I think he's going to really drop off. I'm getting rid of Kyron for anything I can get. If I can go get a Jahmyr Gibbs or something like that, I'm jumping at that.
So my first 2 sells were also Murray Cooper and Kyron Williams.
Nice. Very good. I'm glad we agree.
I know we didn't really translate this, but they were my first 2 as well.
Beautiful.
Now, my biggest concern about Kyron Williams is probably the fact that he's getting used at a rapid level. And I think at some point with their average O-line, I said previously, I said they've lost a few players in their O-line. I do believe that they're going to run him to the ground. And we both know that he's not durable enough to handle a full season of about 90 to 95% of usage. So without Cooper Kupp, without Puka Nacua, I think the offense was a flash in the pan for this week. I did not expect this at all, and I don't expect it moving forward. But he's one to sell for me too. And if you can get a Jahmyr Gibbs, if you can go get a
mate, if you can get a Josh Jacobs or an Aaron Jones, I'm even considering that. Try to get some extra.
I wouldn't go down the path of Aaron Jones personally, but Josh Jacobs would be a good one.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs would be a good one.
Yeah, even if it's a sideways trade, I'd probably even look at doing it, to be honest. But
yeah, for sure. Yep.
Have you got any other sells there, mate?
Not really. Those are the 2 that I really wanted to sell high on. If I look, in all honesty, mate, there's probably 15 players that you'd want to sell high on. And the same with buy low, because it's been such a dog's breakfast to start the year. But they're the 2 that really stick out to me. I'd be actively getting rid of them.
I've actually got 3 more for you, and I'll go through them very quickly.
Hit me.
I've got Calvin Ridley as a sell. I think that he's looked good this year. Yeah, but I'm not thinking that he can be able to hold this up. I don't think Will Levis.
You're not convinced?
Good. I'm not convinced that that Ridley is the guy. As I said, D-Hop is coming back. Well, week to week, he's going to get better and better and better. So that's just going to eat into Ridley's usage, in my opinion. So I would definitely try and sell Ridley. Next one would be Singletary, is another one I cannot trust, who's playing okay. He's putting up some good fantasy numbers at the moment.
Yeah.
I would look to move him as soon as I can if I was owning him, because I can't trust the Giants' offense outside of Neighbours.
Completely fair.
And I don't even like Danny Dimes at all. So
that's completely fair.
And my last one would be J.K. Dobbins. I think he's absolutely balled out to start the year.
Fair.
And I don't believe that he will be able to keep this up without getting injured at some point. And
that's a very fair point.
And that offense is getting worse and worse by the week. So, start off the year on fire, absolutely. Well done to him, but now's the time to sell. I'd get off that boat ASAP.
Yeah. Capitalize on that efficiency, 100%.
Yep. And if you can get yourself, if you can package him up with someone else maybe and get a Saquon Barkley, or if you can get a Josh Jacobs, or if you can get a Jahmyr Gibbs or something like that, then fucking oath, sign me up.
Yeah, absolutely. Who have you got in your buy lows, mate?
Now, these are interesting. I'll go one for one of this one, mate. I'll start off with the first one. I've got, it's going to be very controversial based off where they're at, but Tyreek Hill is actually a buy low at this point.
That seems so wild. Seems so wild.
And it might be a slow burn for the first couple of weeks. It might be one of those where you might get him for, I don't know, whatever. But once Tua comes back, and he will come back, I don't know when, but he will come back.
He's going to come back.
Tyreek Hill will be back. And Tyreek Hill's too good to be this shit for the whole season. They'll find ways to get him involved. He'll be one-on-one coverage where he just absolutely burns the corner. It's going to happen. So everyone's a bit lower in Tyreek Hill at the moment, so he'd be a good buy low. Who's your buy low?
First one's JSN. Again, alluded to it a little bit in the Seahawks rundown. He had a career game last week and obviously came crashing down to earth, and I can understand why the JSN owner would be panicking with 8 targets to Lockett. He's way too talented to stay shit JSN. He's the number 2 in a good offense. I think he's a safe flex most weeks with upside. He did lead the team in routes last week as well. So they're running plays for him. So if you have the means, go get JSN.
I agree. Next one I've got is Brandon Ayuk. I think he'd be a nice little get. Again, I know he's been a bust to this point, but he just needs a few more weeks to get going, and he may be the Brandon Ayuk that we all know him to be. I don't think he'll cost him much at this point. I think if you're a Brandon Ayuk owner, you'd be panicking a little bit, thinking that this guy isn't really capitalizing on his opportunities with all the injuries they've got. So he did it last year with everyone fully healthy. So why can't he do it with them again?
Yeah, why not now?
Get to that point. So yeah, that's me.
Yep, why not now? That makes sense.
Who's your next one, by the way,
my next one is Jaden Reed. So it's a bit of a tough one because last year he had a great year, but it was obviously really touchdown dependent. He had like a touchdown conversion way higher than what you can expect, especially from a rookie wide receiver. But Jordan Love loves him. So with him coming back in the next fortnight, he's clearly the number 1 in the offense, leads the team in targets. He's efficient when he gets the ball. Since entering the NFL last year, Reed ranks 9th in fantasy points per route run. He's going to come good. So he's had a bad start. If you can get him, get him.
Well, he's had a bad start because of the QB play.
Which doesn't help. Exactly right. So,
in that one game he had, Jordan Love, he dominated.
Exactly. And what you got to remember is that not everyone in your league is going to be like you and I and the people that are in this chat here. They don't put that much effort into working out why things are happening the way they are. So my suggestion would be, excuse me, if you have the chance, go just approach these guys, see what you can get. They might not value the players at the same level that you do, because to someone that's not paying that much attention, they see 2 bad games from Jaden Reed. They see that there's numbers going to all these other wide receivers. They might lose confidence and see if you can get him.
I agree. Another one that I've got, mate, is Trey McBride. Now, he's going to miss next week with a concussion, but he's still a top tight end in the league. The tight ends as a whole have been pretty grim. And this offense is going to be moving the ball at a rapid rate. The defense is okay. Yeah. I thought it was actually really, really shit, but it's okay. But still, the offense is going to be really good. I don't think he costs you a hell of a lot. I think that I don't think he would at all. The only bad side to this would be that the whole position and the whole has been pretty crap. So that might be where you lose your value to a degree. But mate, worth a conversation. They may have David and Njoku sitting there on the bench going, "Oh, well,
exactly.
I'll try and pay for someone." Or they might have Ferguson on the bench. You just never know what they have on their bench. So
exactly right.
It's one to watch.
Yep. Yeah, and they might be scared off with Marvin Harrison starting to look really good. So it's worth the conversation for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Got anyone else there, mate?
Yeah, mate. One more for me is Jonathan Brooks. This is a stash. He's not coming good now. He's still in the PUP. I think it's week 6 or week 7. He can finally come back and get the time on field. Jonathan Brooks was really highly touted coming out of college and through the combine. A lot of his metrics were similar to Bijan Robinson's. Not saying he's the same player, but there was a bit of hype around him thinking that he could be a really, 1A kind of guy. The owner might be wavering though after Chuba's big day. Chuba Hubbard has been really productive in the role, and especially with Andy Dalton. So don't go crazy on trying to get him. But if you're able to get Jonathan Brooks on the cheap, I'd be getting him and just sitting him at the bottom of your waivers. Probably if you're in the the 2 wins 1 loss kind of bracket, that's the kind of guy I'd be trying to buy low on.
He could start at some point, couldn't he?
I think he will. Chuba's good, but
the good thing is, well, not really a good thing, but if he never did his ACL, he would have been a day 1 pick for sure. And probably would have been high end pick too. He's pretty damn good. So, good one, mate. Man. My last one would be Garrett Wilson. It's my last one. Now,
I like this.
I know there's a few owners out there, and I'm actually one of them in our local league that's getting a little bit too restless.
Yeah,
with Garrett Wilson, thinking, well, fuck, he's got Aaron Rodgers and he's still not putting up some good stats, but it's going to be week to week. Just again, temper expectations. By week 8, week 9, this guy could be putting up some high end numbers when he gets that chemistry going with Rodgers.
Correct.
So,
I agree.
You just want to see improvement week to week, and that's what's happening. So By week 7, week 8, he could be going berserk. So he could win you a league if you buy low on him.
I agree, mate. 1,000%. If you're able to get him, 100% get him.
All right, mate. I reckon that will pretty much wrap us up. Thank you for joining in. For all you that are listening, our link tree is linked in the comments below. Our Discord is in there. Our Patreon's in there. Join in, get involved in the game day chats. Always good to get you in there. To be honest with you, I want to get the Discord rolling at a rapid pace. Love having chats about the NFL. We'll always 100%. Be active in there, mate. It's something that we all love. You're all watching for a reason, and that's for the NFL. So get involved. 100%. Give us a nice little 5-star review too. That'd be fantastic. That helps us go on as well. So other than that, that'll pretty much do us, mate. It's been a pleasure as always.
Been a pleasure. I don't care what they say about you, mate. You're all right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we've broken the bank to get you back in, mate. We're pretty much broken.
Yeah, I know. So, and to the boys that are in the chat, thanks for engaging, having some questions and some chat in there. Definitely makes it a little bit more fun too. So kudos to you.
Cheers, gents.
Cheers, guys.